that, differentiate us than other cities, and also, expanded, their fan base as well.
I think that's fascinating because I think people can relate to it across different industries in business with franchises and bringing brands here. And I think they'll empathize with your, say, struggle on some of those, to show the value. And I remember going to Nürburgring in 2005 for a Formula One event, and it was vastly, vastly different than the experience in Abu Dhabi. And I can kind of relate to, what you've done at that level. So it's amazing. And I guess that's what you mean by finding the right partners, whether it's across the region or international, that can see the value that Flash Entertainment brings. Can you talk a little bit about UFC, because there was an initial investment, and then that was exited, and then now UFC Arabia have their own events, and how has that materialized, and what's your kind of take on that?
Well, that was very interesting. I mean, it was a surprise call I had from the chairman. I think it was back in 2009. It must have been early 2009. So we are going to meet Frank and Lorenzo and Dana. So I was quite excited because it was actually something that I used to watch when I was living in Toronto at the time. And it was something I used to watch with my friends, as well as my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. It was, easy for everyone to understand, a sport that we could get together, drink a few beers on the couch and spend, 3 or 4 hours, socially. So I was quite excited about it. And it first came up about hosting an event. And then the next thing, it was brought up at a much higher level than me, but about an investment. And I think the UFC saw it as a strategic play for them because of the connections Abu Dhabi has within medias and obviously their financial investments globally. And they wanted to establish better relationships and get these big deals with Fox or ABC, which eventually ended up happening. And it was a short-term investment. 10 years. But for the company, it was purely. It initially was done financially, but the benefits were there. UFC loved us because we were doing something unique, and it was something in the region. It was a territory that they saw as an expansion into Asia. Well, we are in Asia, but anyway, from the GCC into some of the other countries that are further to the east. And we also already had the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championship, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was already in the public schools. And you had the legends in the sport who knew some of the leadership in Abu Dhabi and trained them and worked with them, and saw how passionate they were about mixed martial arts, specifically Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So there was all these synergies between the two groups, and it just became all, we could use someone like, the Abu Dhabi Inc., voice to talk about our brand. And, after the 10 years, I think it was time to exit, and everyone greatly benefited from that. It was an incredible investment. We learned a lot from the UFC. They learned a lot from us. We produced an event outdoors the first time, and I remember on the conference calls when we were talking about it, the Anderson Silva and Frankie Edgar 2 title fights. They kept freaking out about the venue, and I was, on the phone, kept saying, "Don't stop with the venue. This is what we do. Like, we can build a venue in the middle of the desert. We could do anything. It would be like half underwater if you want. I'm not worried about that. I was like, let's worry about promoting this event, getting the pay-per-views, and getting the, the tickets. So that was my bigger concern. But they were used to just going into arenas, that had, decades of event experience. It was something new for them, and we never worked together. But obviously, the event went smashingly well, and it was a good start to the relationship. We'd hoped to build something larger with them, but again, it was about resources. They were focusing on major markets. We still see an opportunity. There's another event coming this year, and the last was very, very successful as well. So the relationship is still there, still conversations happening. Just the investment when Endeavor decided to purchase the UFC, that's when the time was just like, okay, we've done our thing. There's a great bump in price, and
Yeah, amazing. So and they grew as well. So it was, you kind of grew together in many ways, internationally and locally. So the UFC Arabia is part of Endeavor globally, and it's separate now.
Well, I don't know if there's a UFC Arabia. There's a UFC events that happen here.
But just okay. The web, okay.
You tell me. It's not. I'm not part of that initiative. Actually, it's something that the Tourism Authority has developed a plan and a structure with the UFC over a certain amount of years, and we just get called in to produce the events from time to time.
Okay.
So we'll.
Interesting. So, yeah, amazing. So, just touching on something that you mentioned in terms of the region and partnerships. We've seen recently in the news that Abu Dhabi have made an investment in Live Nation with Ticketmaster. How do you view that in terms of being a private company and a listed company? Do you think it's a good news for the region and the events business in general?
You mean Saudi Arabia?
Sorry, what did I say? Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's Abu
Sorry.
Dhabi.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I look. I mean, it's good. I think it shows that the Saudis are very committed to long term into delivering events and having event programs in KSA. Obviously, being a very close neighbor and very good relations with, it's a positive move. I think it will give a lot of attention to the region as well. Obviously, Live Nation doesn't own much content. They're more of a concert promoter and
Mm.
a touring company, more ticketing and food and beverage sponsorships, et cetera. But yeah, I think it will benefit everyone greatly. The biggest hurdle, as I said in the beginning, and what we've been trying to overcome since 2007, is really we don't have a touring region, and to have
Mm.
something that we can, bring artists over. That way, we can negotiate a little bit stronger on pricing, and the economies of scale obviously kick in for them as well as us. There'll be more opportunity to bring content into the region and the diversity of content, and hopefully as well, developing and exporting some content. Like I said, the Yasalam program, the Formula One event series, which we used to be completely responsible for. Now the private sector has picked up some elements of it, and other agencies, is something that the Formula One is trying to emulate around the world.
Mm.
Tennis event as well as an XO. You see other countries now saying, "Do we want a 2 week tournament?" I'm nothing taking away from the ATP. Obviously, they're fantastic. We would love to have one of those events here, but they're just not that. There's none up for
Mm.
for license. So we have to make good, and it also was around the facility that we had. But we want to be creating, and we want to develop stuff that is regionally relevant, and as well as bringing some international attention to what we're doing here, and not just a one-off, high paying, nobody, no financial returns on these events kind of attitude or perception that we have, which is 100% not the case.
Yeah. So I guess
So yeah,
the touring aspect is, you know, th- it would need kind of regional collaboration. It would be great for you, for example, if Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and a Levant country joined up and you kind of had a seasonal collaboration where, you know, the Rolling Stones or U2, or we can mention Drake again, or someone Canadian.
sure.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
Bieber, Celine Dion,
Justin Bieber, listen to Dion.
Michael Bublé.
Michael
And
Bublé, amazing. Yeah. So
uh,
rather than them viewing, yeah, rather than
Nickel-
Nickelback, keep going. I should think of some. I'm not that good at music, but so they should rather than see the region as a kind of you know, for want of a better term, you know, cash cow or a one-off payment, and you know, and they might then be seen in the mercenary terms. It would be better if the region almost worked together, aligned tourism strategically to have 5 or 6 stop ops, and then there would be a lot more kind of economics of scale at your level in terms of what, yeah, exactly, for the whole events industry.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. Again, we've been working on this since 2007. A lot of the research that I had done, even with the initiatives around tourism, we're looking at, like, what is the best model to operate under or try to achieve. I saw a lot of reports about the region being a touring area, having people come for like 10 days, where they could do a few days in Dubai, a few days in Abu Dhabi, go into the desert, and go maybe off to Bahrain or Egypt, Lebanon, whatever the case may be,
Jordan, yeah.
and having everyone kind of benefit from that. I think there was even talk about some coordination around some of the bigger sporting events at one time, way back. But obviously there has to be established promoters in all of our event producers in all of those territories, and they have to be able to maximize their
Mm.
revenues and drive diversification of those revenue streams to help bring these events in. And once that kind of comes along, I mean, it's always difficult for collaboration because the way that the industry works is a competitive bidding process, and the more fear there is about you not getting a show, the more likely are you to throw a few more $100,000 at it.
Mm.
The collaboration either has to be through a mutual investment or it's mutual benefit, where people in theory can see the benefit. I think the collaboration piece has to be amongst some of the bigger players at a much higher level.
Mm.
From a strategic position of whether that's the touring companies or whether that's some of the content owners or whether that's the governments themselves. Getting a little bit more involved and saying, look, that we buy the sum of our parts, we're all going to be there'll be more benefit for us to gain than saying I want the exclusivity for this artist and take all of the
Yeah.
tourism money or travelers that may come in. Um,
S- So,
but then again, I'm not a tourism expert. I'm not a hotel expert. I do know about those kind of things, but I think it's very difficult, especially in the beginning. We just need more collaboration. People to understand the long-term objectives and what people have, which it can be hard because you have a lot of transient people in
yeah.
these territories as well. So they want to be here for 3 years, make the biggest bang, and leave, and
Mm.
they don't have a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan.
So you mentioned,
Unlike us.
unlike Abu Dhabi does and the tourism industry does, and one of the benefits people say, and I guess is generally assumed of being a private company, is that you can plan longer term. How much of what you do events wise is related is public service, as in some of the events that you create is for the community, for the city, for the country. You do the Mother of the Nation event. There's a recent Moments campaign that you've done, and
Yeah.
there's lots of kind of. Is that CSR? Is that public service? You've done the papal
No,
visit. Okay.
those are actually fee for service. Yeah, you touched on like the Pope visit, Mother of the Nation. We've done a few times in the past. We didn't do the last one, and we're not doing the one that'll be coming currently. These are all competitive bids that we work with or try to win
Mm.
through other government agencies. Like I said, we do operate as a private sector entity,
Mm.
and we compete with the private. We compete with our competitors.
Yeah.
That's redundant, no, but we compete with other event agencies, and we actually make money on those events.
Yeah.
So it's who has the most creative ideas, what kind of cost controls or whatever mechanisms they have to deliver quality at a cheaper price. Those are the things that win those bids. But there is a creative element. The Moments one came up in very short notice, and we'd had done a lot of community stuff again, I've referred to the Formula One event and the Yasalam program, which was more than just about concerts. We had, lecture sessions for university students. We had engineers coming in. We had health and fitness. We had an arts program. We had movie nights, fan zones. We had food culture, kids parades representing different nationalities. And those things were more about CSR, but really making the whole community feel like they were part of the F1 as well.
Mm.
So when we do, again, what seems as CSR events like the Post Visit, that is a fee that we do charge. Some of the CSR stuff that we do is really in support of charities. We support the Rescue Crescents. We do the Last Mile. We manage the Terry Fox Run.
Mm.
We do a golf event, support a golf event with one of our ex-employees who unfortunately passed away from to cancer. And we also work with other regional charity and events to support them through auctions and giving away prizes, logistics, and things like that. But there is sometimes an element of what we do where we bring the community in. The tennis brings a lot of the community in, where we do tennis in schools, and we have the coaches come in and teach other coaches how to coach.
Mm.
There's a lot of give back to the community in those things. And with the bigger events around football, we always try to incorporate these activations that either go into schools or go into public places, or, and working with the PLC and their activations, bringing more of a community and younger kids in, getting them interested, getting them into wellness and health, getting them into activities and group activities where they can congregate and develop social skills. So that's been a big part of what we do. It isn't the only thing that we can justify. We try to bring it into the things and make some of the content owners,
Mm.
like the Tourism Authority, believe that it's better, that there is a benefit to the community for that, and owners of Mother of the Nation as well as the Moments.
Amazing. I'm not purposely avoiding COVID-19 or talking about the current scenario. There just seems to be so much to discuss about Flash and the events business in general. And I'd like to touch on the future and the plans for events. And, you can talk about the virtual ones, but also big events like the Olympics and other things like that. And
Yeah.
even business type events. But just strategically for Flash, it's a private company. There are other private companies here in the region. Do you think what does the future hold in terms of growth? Do you think there is an exit? Will you see more companies like that go on the stock market, like we saw some IPOs out of the region recently in the energy sector? And what's your kind of plan for Flash?
Well, it was like three in one there, I think. So which one do
Okay.
you focus on? COVID-19, innovation in the space, or
Well, just the first one on where the roadmap for Flash as a business, and then we'll talk about the future a bit.
well, this is a very hard time. I mean, for the world as well. Obviously, we're part of the world, so it's a difficult time for us. People's health, which is paramount, and it's something that is our first priority when we do events. Is that the wellness and the health of people, providing a safe environment, and everything comes down from there. So, obviously, when you see people being affected globally, and whether, obviously families and people losing their lives and the economic damage, it's tough to take. So we're just trying to really, keep the team motivated, even though that we're not doing events. Our events stopped in March, and the ones that we were currently working on, were immediately shut down, or they weren't being delivered. But obviously, most of the planning and cost comes in before the event actually happens. So those were closed off, and we just don't know when we're going to start. We've looked at some ideas for after Ramadan about low density kind of social gatherings where people can get outdoors and experience different things. We're working on ticketing and capacity. We're working on health and safety, having sprayers at the venues, having thermal detectors, having individual screenings, and obviously sanitizers, and developing spatial recognition patterns on the floor where people could stand to give them different space. But again, it all depends on what's happening to people's health. If there's still a number of cases that are being spread, or it's really up to the public. Are they going to be comfortable in going out?
Mm.
uh, are we going to get content to come in? Or are we going to have to stick with local events? So everything is very up in the air. We're talking to different artists about doing some digital stuff online, and really focusing from a corporate perspective as how we operate as a company. What are the innovations or changes we're going to make in the future, and reevaluate everyone's job descriptions, as well as the functions of the departments, the 3-year, 5-year plan that we had put out, how we can better work with some of our suppliers, looking at obviously increasing or trying to diversify our revenue streams,
Mm.
efficiencies of scale, and what again, it's up in the air of what the future is going to hold. Is it going to be the end of this year? Is it going to be next year? Is it going to be 2 years? We just don't know.
Mm.
Surveys that have been done of showing 60% of the people are not going to be comfortable going into a smaller space. We've seen in the States, I saw a manifest from Ticketmaster just released about using 20% capacity of the venue,
Mm.
uh, which is never going to work for us, because just like I said, we don't have the touring route. So to have, it's not like some guy or girl can get in her car and drive, to the venue and spend a few $1,000s in setting up and performing. We're talking about people flying in from, London or New York, LA, which is logistically quite quite expensive.
Mm.
So we're going to have to come up with the creative ideas and look at things that we can create here that don't rely on, touring content or content that comes from abroad. It's good because our team is very motivated. It's something that we're looking at for our next 10 years anyway.
Mm.
And it's just circumstances. Obviously, would be much happier if we were in different circumstances doing all of these things. But we have to remain productive. We have to remain positive, um, and making sure that we're accomplishing like kind of these weekly, monthly, and annual goals.
Mm.
And as more information comes out in time, and then we'll adapt to that, like we always have done. We've been very good at kind of pivoting and moving. This might be a massive pivot for us. There might be some fundamental changes in the industry in general, even in travel. So all of those things will have to be assessed. But right now we're planning for the fourth quarter. We're planning to deliver some of our marquee events, and not going to be doing as much as we had wanted to do, for sure. I don't see the point in cannibalizing, and a lot of people want to get back into the space.
Mm.
A lot of people want to go out, if we have the permission to do so. And it's really about what we're going to be doing in 2021 until 2025.
Okay, so we see some people having digital or virtual only events. I think you alluded on another interview to something about having access on virtual and physical for visitors or for customers, but also we see the gaming and esports
Yeah.
area, and I think recently Fortnite did something with Travis Scott,
Yeah.
if I have his name right, and he
Yeah.
attended one of your events before, right?
He was supposed to come. Oh no, yeah, did it years and years ago. I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I probably blocked it out of my memory. He's a fun. He likes to have fun. So just leave it at that. It was challenging for my team. But I did come to the Formula One event. I think it was about maybe 4 or 6 years ago. I'm believe it or not, a huge fan of Travis Scott. So, but he canceled the last one. We brought him on the bigger stage because of his foot injury. He had to go to the hospital, or get a surgery done on his ankle. And he did his live thing on Fortnite. You're right. It was great. I mean, my kids were super excited. I was excited to see, how they were gonna, use it, create an avatar of him and have him perform in this virtual world. It was really kind of cool.
Wow.
This great, Post Malone did, like a rock set of Nirvana, covering all of Nirvana songs, which was fun to watch. Global Citizen did a big charity event with plethora of artists and then
Wow.
performing. But again, these are all being done for charity, or they're not really being, they're not monetized.
Mm.
Uh, I think it's going to be difficult because if you've seen the history of the music business, especially with Napster in the beginning days and illegal downloads and artists like, oh, everyone's getting this stuff for free, we're not being compensated. How is that compensation model going to work? And again, people are used to getting, they are going to be used to getting, to see events live for free, streaming free. And when you start putting a dollar on amount, is it going to create backlash? How long is that going to get for people to get over?
Mm.
Can you get sponsors to come in and support? These are all questions that need to be answered.
Mm.
And it all depends on, how long this goes for. I mean, I think artists are quite content to be at home working in the studio, developing relations and collaborations. A lot of other projects they work on, whether it's, in TV or film or clothing, real estate, whatever. I mean, they're very, very diverse, this new generation and what they're doing. So it's always a battle for their time. And I think they're going to focus on other things for now.
Mm.
See how the touring route comes back, and then we'll see really what the changes are. I think Super M just, one of the K-pop bands, sold 72,000 tickets for one of their live streaming shows.
Wow.
There's a huge appetite, as you know. Nothing on TV really, other than Netflix, and I finished that about a week ago. Uh, Going into the foreign language section and things that I haven't like,
Yeah.
but that's my insomnia. 4 hours a day, but I think it's a great opportunity. I think there might be some sort of element that
Yeah.
people, especially if there's some lifting of restrictions and people can congregate at least as social groups and go to like like it was like having a DJ, local DJ, or your friend DJing at a house party. Maybe it's having, performance being streamed live and people,
Yeah.
instead of going out in large groups, going out in smaller groups.
Uh,
But we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure and trillions of dollars in this system that is currently exists. So I think there'll be a lot of resistance to be switching drastically. But what people want and what people are willing to do is going to be what the driver is to the next phase.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing everything today. I think, judging by the path that Flash Entertainment has been on, it's a safe bet to assume that you'll be part of the innovation. And looking at the image behind you, I think hopefully, inshallah, everyone will be able to congregate again in the future with a vaccine. We all see how amazing that venue is, the acoustics, and we want it to be packed with 80,000 people again one day in the future.
Yeah, well, we have also the new Etihad Arena that's coming online in September.
Oh,
So
amazing.
that's one of the innovations. We were doing greenfield sites when we got here. Then we went into a very rough area, which is not rough area, but a very rough kind of what you would term as a venue at at the time it was just called the arena for our world. Then we went on to the do things. So those innovations have taken. Now we're into a space where we have a brand new state of the art indoor arena that's being developed for 18,000 people.
Oh, wow.
The title sponsor of Etihad. But those were some of the innovations. There was no naming rights deals and no that existed in the region. We were the innovators in that space as well, helping us bring in some of these artists. People know that these artists aren't cheap, so having a title sponsor coming on and guaranteeing us X amount of sponsorship over a 4-year period allowed us to be very flexible and do those things. So we're very proud of our partnership with Do, and we'll continue that as well as our new partnership with Etihad. Hopefully there'll be flying tons of people in here.
Yeah, hopefully. And
I think they're thinking the same too. So
with all the precautions and hopefully everything going well, will we be able to attend an event at the Etihad Arena this year? And what event will it be?
Well, Disney on Ice is scheduled for the beginning of September.
Okay.
That's the plan now. Again, we're waiting for the tourism authority to tell us what the restrictions, or if any, are going to be there in place. And again, the time we'll see what happens during the summer.
Okay.
And as you said, we never know.
Well,
we think positive.
A good
plan
note,
for the worst. Hope for the best.
Hope for the best. A good note to finish on. Thanks again, John, for your time this morning, and well done, all the success, and wish you well in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.